to the hay, all you sports fans out there in the tubosphere, to you, the individual, as part of the collective. Welcome to Fast Track Sports Highlights here on Talk Radio version of the OMSR. I am your brief but concise host, Will, the alternative ESPN Sports Thrill. Always do a little show like this, let you know the clip order coming up, and the whys to wherefores. Always good to know what you're getting into. So, it's that time of year, or rather, of year, when the OMSR spends time on college football spring news. So, talking briefly and concisely about, I got the order here in my head. I rehearsed this twice. What is it, Will? Fake. Yes. Spring game, Beamer ball. Is there pressure on Frank Beamer? And then discussion about Teddy Bridgewater. Had some high expectations, high hopes going in, but based on tryout, combine performance, and the sum total of all the things they may do based on each individual player, not looking as high by some opinions. And then Arkansas's situation. Already did a sports rant on how Brett Bielema screwed up his karma, so no quickie sport rant this segment. There's no real segue. There was a nice, cool moment from Arkansas and Kansas State, that coming up in the fourth part of the vignette. And then funky injuries during the off season. When you're a football player, you think you could handle that situation, but weird stuff can happen. So that's what's coming up. All the video highlights courtesy to ESPN and College Football Live. Everything else to the OMSR. Thanks for watching those silly DUIs while you're out there. Roll clips.
Good vibes in LA, maybe not so much at Virginia Tech, especially from what we saw in their spring game over the weekend. Hokies showing some sign of offensive life early in this one, and the key is early there. Joel Caleb takes the carry and then goes up the middle, 27 yards on that run. So that made it 7-0, but guess what? That's going to be the only touchdown of the game. J.C. Coleman takes the handoff, thrown for a loss, and the passing game really didn't look much better either. Just 12 first downs in this game, 306 total yards of offense. So that was kind of the issue, and Virginia Tech did not rank higher than 9th in the SEC in any major offensive category last season. Logan Thomas unable to carry the load, left by a non-existent running game. You look at some of those numbers, I mean, 99th, 101st, above 100 in a lot of these categories, and just not looking good. So we want to bust out the College Football Live pressure meter. So you guys give me the numbers first, and then we'll kind of discuss it. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest amount of pressure, 10 being the highest amount of pressure, how much pressure is on Frank Beamer this season? Danny, we'll start with you.
I'll say 2.
2? Okay, well, let's hold right there. And
I'll say 5.
Okay.
You're going more.
All right. You don't think there's a lot of pressure?
No, I don't think there should be.
Okay.
I think there will be. I mean, you've got a new athletic director, a new school president coming in. I think the expectations have risen, but they've risen because of one reason, because of Frank Beamer, because of what he's built. I mean, this is a team that dominated the ACC since they entered in 2004. Right. They ran the, I mean, they were the power. Everyone's talking about Florida State or Miami. It's been Virginia Tech at the forefront. Granted, they're coming off their 2 worst seasons since joining the ACC, but this is a man who built this program into what it is. I believe he's one of those coaches that deserves to kind of call his own shots. You give him a little bit more leeway than you would a typical, younger coach where he's unproven and you don't know what the future holds.
I say 5 just because of the reasons you mentioned as well, just because of the athletic director, a change in the program. He may come in and say, you know what, we need a little bit more fresher energy into this place. But if you take this 10-year snapshot of what Frank Beamer's done since 2004, I mean, he's won the conference 4 times. He's finished better than second in the respective division, the Coastal Division, at least 9 times. I mean, so the last 2 years have been a little rocky, but Frank Beamer, in my book, is as safe as they come as far as
does he put more pressure on himself than anybody else does, like outside pressure, do you think?
Yeah, I think he does. I mean, I think the pressure is on Scott Leffler, the offensive coordinator. I mean, their offense has struggled mightily. Their running game was atrocious. Logan Thomas really struggled to excel when he had all this unlimited potential the guy that looks the part, but never really came into his own. So I think the pressure's on the offensive coordinator because Bud Foster, the defensive coordinator, has been there forever. Their defenses have not been the issue. It's been on the offensive side.
At what point does that pressure meter maybe get up to 7, 8?
Another 7 and 6, 8 and 5 year, and I think people are going to start to get restless.
I think the pressure, like you said, though, is on the offensive coordinator, not Frank Beamer. Frank Beamer's body of work says that he's a winner, and he'll bring the right person in there should they need to replace Scott.
They have built up the expectations where in the football office they have a trophy case, and it is empty. And they are waiting for a national championship trophy to put in. That's the kind of expectations that Frank Beamer built there. And that's probably the only thing that will satisfy them in the long run.
Double-edged sword there.
Yes,
The draft and of Teddy Bridgewater. His draft stock seems to be falling these days, guys. Todd McShay has him as the third best quarterback now behind Bortles and Manziel. Mike Mayock of NFL.com came out Friday and said he doesn't even see him as a first-rounder. To be fair, Mel Kiper still has him as his top quarterback. So definitely some mixed opinions out there, right?
Too much extra time on our hands.
Sure. Well, yeah, exactly. The draft is later this year. So, do you see him as a first-round pick?
I would not take him in the first round. I would wait till if I could take him in the second round. I think he'd be great value there if you have the luxury of having him sit behind somebody, develop, not on the mental side. He's a bright quarterback. The physical aspect, taking that pounding for 16 games, that's what concerns me with Teddy Bridgewater.
I think you take him as a first-round pick, but then you plan not to play him in the first year until maybe week 11 on a struggling team and a struggling organization that maybe having some concerns with their offensive line. I think that Teddy Bridgewater has the best R&D, read and delivery of any quarterback coming out in this draft. Might have the highest football IQ of any quarterback coming out in this year's draft. He is too valuable in my book. He's young. I know he's slight in frame, but he's going to grow, he's going to fill out, he's going to mature. I think you take him in the first round just to secure him because someone's going to steal him in the second round, and they're going to have the best quarterback of the 2014.
I'm about finding deals. He's the second. I'd take the steal. I don't know if I reach.
I think most quarterbacks could benefit by, sitting and learning and not having to get thrown into the fire right away. Well, more spring action from Saturday, and we take you to Arkansas, year 2 under Brett Bielema, and second quarter, white team up 2, Corliss Marshall switching over to offense and looking good. 59 yards into the end zone. He rushed 6 times, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Excited about him. White team up 5. Quarterback play, though, still an issue. Austin Allen's intercepted. Red team up 27-15 after that one gets taken back. And then a nice moment in the fourth quarter. Caden Sandy, a lifelong Arkansas fan with Down syndrome, gets a chance to show off his moves as the red team goes on to win 61-22. Now, this is a team that was 3-9 last year, did not win a game in the SEC. So what would constitute a successful season for Arkansas?
I think for us, for rational minds that can sit outside and from Arkansas and look at it, I think anything over 500 is a great success. I mean, you look at their schedule, they're in the toughest division in college football. They've got to go to Auburn week 1. How is that going to set them off? I think anything over 500, you should look at it and be like, all right, this is a step in the right direction. You're changing schemes offensively. You've got to view that as a success. But I don't know if the fan base is going to see that.
The fan base won't say that, but knowing where they are in the SEC, like you said, the most competitive division in college football, you have to consider being 500. The big thing with them is they need to throw the football. 1,500 yards is not going to cut it for a season total for Brandon Allen at quarterback. I mean, they've got to do better, which is why, Corliss Marshall was kind of featured as kind of an explosive guy in that offense in the spring game because he brings that flash that really this offense is really lacking.
You think that's a bright spot for them?
I think it's a bright spot for them because he's a different type of running back. I mean, when you look at the 2 running backs they had last year, Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams, I mean, they combined for 2,000 yards. They know how to run the football. Their offensive line is getting better. Brett Bielema, that's his MO. That's what they do. But they lack the explosion. They lack those big chunk plays that typically win you games in a division that has Auburn and Alabama and LSU.
I think, too, one of the things that plagued Arkansas the last several years through the Bobby Petrino era was Bobby Petrino was all about offense, and he recruited that way. And the defensive side of the ball really struggled, and I think you've seen that carry over. So I think that's one of the issues. Last year, you mentioned it, the run game was still solid. That's Brett Bielema's MO. Now, they still had struggle last season defensively. It's plagued them for several years now. They've got to address that side of the ball, too, in order to have some resemblance of success. But From 500, a bowl appearance, they should be, calling the hogs, get them out if that's the case.
Yeah, you mentioned third in rushing in the SEC, but 11th in the SEC in rushing defense. And so you saw, on the spring game, they're running all over the place, like you said. That's like kind of that's their MO.
Right,
but so how concerned should they be about the rushing defense, trying to contain some of these runners?
It's a good thing they have Trey Flowers back up front, because if not for him, then they would have very little experience. They really have to recruit better and just do a better job of coaching. If they don't have the personnel, then you utilize a scheme that utilizes what they do have. Movement up front, confuse the heck out of the offenses you play against, find some way to accentuate what you do on defense to counteract the fact that you don't have personnel.
It's really tough to buy in, and I don't know, you might differ on this, but will they ever be able to compete on a year-in, year-out basis with Alabama, with LSU, with Auburn? Because of recruiting. They're not going to ever be able to compete against those programs as far as getting the 4- and 5-star guys. So they might have windows of opportunity where they can get a 9- or 10-win season, maybe a couple in a row if they get really hot. But year in and year out, I just don't know if I buy into Arkansas ever being a consistent player within that division.
Maybe Bielema can bring in a dynamic coach, a defense coordinator who can actually utilize it.
Normally we go 3 and out. Today, just 2 and out. Very early exit for us. A couple of great moments from Saturday's spring games. We showed you one of them earlier, and this is another. Peyton Schroeder, an 8-year-old battling leukemia at the K-State game, runs for a 30-yard touchdown, hoisted up onto the shoulders of the players, and he got a big ovation from the crowd. Filed this one under bizarre sports injuries. Colorado State quarterback Garrett Grayson has surgery after injuring his left clavicle while moving a couch. He is expected to return, but guys, when people ask you to move, just say, I can't do it.
I've got my excuse now.
I'm washing my hair, doing something else.
80% of all emergency room visits are because of domestic